So as you all see me, I'm a person with visual impairment. As Neha said, I have got retinitis pigmentosa. That means I have seen both sides of life. I had vision, partial vision, lost it over a period of time. So I'm enjoying both the sides. As Neha mentioned, I currently work for an organization called Benetech. It's a US-based international NGO, and we work across the globe. And my role is to support learning in developing countries. I am the regional director for Asia and Africa. The reason why I'm saying this is what we are discussing since morning is not only a story of India. It's a story of every developing country that I have seen in my career. We all struggle to include persons with disabilities because over a period of time, we all thought that persons with disabilities were objects of charity. Suddenly some individual thought, no, let's make them empowered. So we are still transiting between that charity to empowerment model. So it's a very confused state of affairs. This confused state of affairs starts right from your school. Are we getting two sounds? Is one of these mics on or?
No, both are off.
I'm getting a little feedback.
No, both are off.
Both are. Okay, fine. So, yeah, that's better. We can move that. So the confused state that I was talking about starts from our schooling system. And it goes right up to the higher education system. We saw that in Conclave 1. We discussed quite a few of them. And based on similar findings, Benetech has been working on 3 simple principles. Content, which should be accessible. Device, which should be affordable, accessible, and locally available. And the third component of this is training. My friend Dipendra, who's sitting behind, might say kit, confidence, and content. These are 3 different words meaning the same thing. Why do we emphasize on these 3 words? Because these are all interlinked items. You leave aside any one of them and your system is going to break down. Unless you have accessible content, you're not going to provide the knowledge to the individual. It could be a person with visual impairment, it could be a person with SLD, it could be any individual. And in fact, Benetech works for individuals with print disabilities. What is print disability? Any person with a reading barrier who's not able to read standard printed text or is not able to hold a book due to his dexterity issues of the hand. All these individuals are called print disabled, and we work for all of them. So the solutions that Benetech provides are also based on a wide variety of disabilities. And the core of this is content. Accessible content is a major issue right from the school to higher education. It's nothing new. Everybody knows about it. The problem is, as we all have been saying since morning, there are ample number of guidelines, dictates which have been issued by the government. There is technology available today which can make content accessible very easily. Publishers know about it. Everybody is aware that this is the right way forward, but unfortunately, being India and being a developing country, we have our own ways. We don't want to make anything possible. For example, at the school level, we have SCRTs, the state textbook boards. Tell me which SCRT publishes accessible textbooks?
No one.
I would say none. NCRT. Till Dipendra got hold of them, put it into their brains that somebody has to do something about this. They used to create audio versions of their books. Even when they started creating accessible versions, they were imperfect versions. So somebody had to even pick up those imperfect versions and then reconvert them into accessible formats. So when we have this state of affairs, especially when it comes to basic content, we are not even talking about supplementary content, basic content. How do you expect your children to be at par with your non-disabled or to compete with your non-disabled counterparts? We have all heard these stories about schools where the blind children who are dependent on Braille, unfortunately at that level, do not get their textbooks on time. Though we have 20 plus Braille presses across the country who are supposed to create these Braille books. These Braille presses, in fact, are an enigma in themselves. They still use age-old technology to print. They use the 6-key method, if everybody is aware about the 6-key input method for Braille, which renders that text completely unusable for any other type of production. That means if somebody has created an entire set of textbooks for Braille production, we as Benetech or Sugamya cannot take that text and convert it into digital formats. So these are the type of issues that we see today. But I am not here to complain. We are here to find solutions. So before I go into solutions, I wanted to focus on one simple aspect. What I felt from our morning discussion was we were trying to tackle too many issues at the same time, is what I feel. This is my personal view. We are trying to make things suddenly accessible for everyone. Working at the ground, being involved with grassroots realities, I feel that we should initiate our programs by choosing a few simple low-hanging fruits. Which are these low-hanging fruits? We should start with visual impairment, low vision, learning disabilities, mild to moderate, not the severe ones, mild to moderate hearing impairment, and mild to moderate locomotor. Even if we can make life simple for these simpler disabilities, I would call them, with no particular comment on any of them, we should be able to make a start. Ashoka is a great example. But to replicate this example across the country, we need to make a humble start. To make this humble start, we need to lower down our expectations so that we can start creating impact. We can start creating systems which can then be made sustainable and then scalable. How do we do this? It's a multi-pronged approach. And I'm going to stick to content. The device part is going to be taken up by my friend Piyush after I finish. And training, we'll both talk about it a little bit. So how do we ensure that the content is made accessible and available to those who need it in a format of their choice? As I said, there are multi-pronged approaches. The best approach is to ensure that the content is born accessible. B-O-R-N, born accessible. What is that? Born accessible means any digital content that is created by any publisher in public domain should be made in such a way that no further recreation or alteration of that content is required. That means it's a very simple thing. If you're using tools like Adobe InDesign, there are simple techniques that a publisher can adopt. And I'll give you an example. If he's using Adobe InDesign and he's marking a heading which has large font, a different color, there are inbuilt tools within Adobe or within Microsoft, whichever tool he is using, to ensure that this enlarged font, that stretch of text, is given a HTML tag to it. That's all. It's called H1, H2 tags. Nothing complicated. You're already doing something 95% of the way correct. What you need to do is just add that tag over there. If you're creating a table, just use the table tools within your design application so that your table is recognized by assistive technology as a table. When you're using math content, STEM, use MathML to create those equations so that technology will be able to read that content. We are talking since morning about STEM. But how do we bring children into STEM when their textbooks are inaccessible? How do we bring children into STEM or encourage them to learn STEM when schools, as was rightly pointed out, after grade 8 will discourage the student not to take up STEM? How do we take up STEM when your device for writing STEM is still Windows? You need a laptop or a desktop to read and write STEM material. That's the limitation of technology as we speak today. So there are a lot of these different factors that we need to bring in. There are these factors that we have to understand why things are not happening. So coming back to Born Accessible, if we as librarians, and I guess there are quite a few librarians sitting here, you have a major role to play in this. All of you university librarians do prescribe to digital journals, materials, text. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Do we ever write a note in the procurement list that the material, the text, has to conform to accessibility guidelines as prescribed? Do we ever write the simple line? If your text does not stand up to the accessibility guidelines, the university shall not buy your text or subscribe to your text. Every publisher will jump and make his text accessible because he wants to sell it to you. You have the money power, you hold the actual command over it. But because we are not demanding it, the publishers don't do it. There's ample number of trainings available for those publishers who don't know how to do it. DAISY provides it. DAISY is the international organization which stands for Digitally Accessible Information System. Benetech does that. We all do it. But because there is no demand, the publishers do not have the supply. So if we librarians can put our money to good use and demand accessible content, say half of the battle is won there and there. Why do I say half? Because obviously there will be materials which the faculty would be creating by referring to text. As somebody was saying in the morning, that faculty use some text from here, some from there, and compile their own notes for the students. So that's the second equation. When we talk about faculty, remember again, the faculty is not writing down the notes these days. You are copy pasting it from somewhere, compiling your notes in either Microsoft Word or some other editor. When you do this compilation as faculty, again, if you follow very, very, very simple guidelines, your creation will become accessible. Don't give printouts to those who don't want printouts. Just share your Word files to those students with print disabilities. Your work is done. Similarly with PowerPoint. When you create PowerPoints within your colleges for presentations, for lectures, share the same PowerPoint to the student a day before so that the student has knowledge of what is there on the slide. Obviously, no individual is going to read out the entire slide to you when you are presenting. So I should, as an individual with visual impairment, have a basic understanding of what was there on the slide. So I have that background, and when you are lecturing, I'll visualize that content. Simple things. Now comes content which has got pictures in it. Higher education means there could be graphs, charts, everything like that. How do we make them accessible? Again, if you are the author, if the faculty is the author, if you have used a particular picture for a certain reason, it's a very simple method. Just select the image, right click on the image, and there will be an option called alt text. Provide the description of the image as you, the faculty, would like to explain it to the student. If you're sitting next to the student and would be explaining one-on-one to the student, this is this, there is an x-axis which is going here, there's a parabola, whatever it could be. Just write that and provide it to the student along with that image. Once the technology runs over that image will speak out whatever you have written, and the same image when a normal, non-disabled person is reading it, the technology will not pick up that. So it's the same content, you've made it accessible for everybody. Simple techniques. Again, training comes in. Who's going to provide training? I mentioned the two names. Benetech is there, Daisy is there. We are all there to provide you with these trainings for faculty. It's a very simple thing. 2 hours of this training, a little practice, and you're good to go. Nothing complicated. The next point which I wanted to emphasize, and this is especially for persons with visual impairment. And somebody told me that there are at least 10 to 12 people over here, and few of them are students. Sometimes what we do as students is we start expecting a lot of things from the system without realizing the consequences. Why do we go for higher education or any education? It's because we want to become employable. If we have this bottom line in mind, employment, and to become employable, if the faculty and the university management, we all agree that we want to make our students employable at the end of whatever courses they are undergoing, please forget this word scribes. Enforce your students with visual impairment especially to use their technology to write independently. Who is going to write for them once they go out of your university? If they get a government job, is there any job which is going to provide them with a scribe? No. If they go to a corporate, what would be a corporate job like? They are supposed to perform at par with any other non-disabled individual, provided they have the technology in their hands. Problem is, our students have been pampered so badly that they are not able to read and write independently. Isn't that the case? We fight for scribes. Our faculty have sleepless nights, especially those who are running resource centers. हमारे बच्चों को अच्छे स्क्राइब देने हैं. What is अच्छे scribe? Do you all agree? Especially those who are working with visual impairment. Don't shake your heads. It doesn't make any sense to me. Say yes or no. Yes or no? Yes.
Yes, yes.
At least we can make this change. बाकी सब तो आएगा तब आएगा. But can't we enforce this? We have Shivaji Rao over here. Mr. Sharma was here from HTBA Foundation. Many of the government colleges are being supported. The visually impaired students are being supported in these colleges by HTBF by donating laptops. Shivaji Rao, sir, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you identify yourself, sir? Thanks to you and your foundation, sir, for supporting the students. But on the other hand, यहाँ जो students बैठे हैं, उनसे हम ये पूछ रहे हैं, क्या आप ये लैपटॉप लेके खुद लिखने का प्रयास कर रहे हो? Students.
सर क्वेश्चन ये भी तो है ना कि क्या कहते हैं डिपार्टमेंट
नहीं, ये सामने जनाब कुछ बोल रहे हैं. हाँ जी बताइए.
सर क्वेश्चन ये भी तो है ना कि कहते हैं कि फैकल्टी एक्सेसिबल फॉर्मेट में क्वेश्चन पेपर प्रोवाइड करा रही नहीं करा रही.
वो सिस्टम है बेटा, पर आप असाइनमेंट तो लिख ही सकते हो ना.
हाँ मैं तो दिए हैं क्वेश्चन उस पे आशुतोष सिंह.
क्या आपकी वो स्पीड है टाइप करने की? क्या आपके स्पेलिंग सही है? सी, राइटिंग एग्जाम्स is the end goal of a process. To be able to write your exams, yes, accessible question papers have to be there. That's a part of the system which Reena was talking about in the morning. But even if we have a system where we have accessible examination papers, how many students are there who would be writing their own exams? Who would be writing their own exams and completing them in the stipulated time? Completing them without spelling mistakes, with proper formatting. It's not only for the exams that we are talking about formatting and spellings. It's going to be a lifetime learning for them because anywhere they go, this is a basic requirement. How many students can type in Hindi fluently if they are in Hindi medium? We see this at the grassroots level on a daily basis. The moment we say you're going to get a laptop with a condition that you're supposed to learn and start typing in 6 months, students ulta ghum ke bhag jate. So that is also a part of the change that we need to bring in. Coming to content, I agree that in this world, where less than 1% of the content is digitally accessible, we need to empower our students and make them learn how to create their own content also. Again, it's a very simple, basic training that will empower them. Every student, especially at the college level that I have seen in large cities like Delhi, Mumbai, etc., has got a smartphone. If you have a smartphone, you have the entire world in front of you. Give yourself any printed paper, applications like Seeing AI, Google Lookout, Jyoti, Envision. You can immediately scan with high levels of accuracy and convert those pieces of printed paper into accessible books. You can convert them, you can save them as HTML formats. There are no excuses today. Gone are those days where me and Dipendra used to struggle with readers and people for reading with us and all that stuff. I think Professor Someshwar is also here, right? Yeah, you also struggle, right? But today these students don't have any excuses. We as administrators, we as management, we as resource center heads, we need to enforce this system. Otherwise we can't complain. We can't just have one side of the system be reformed and the other side be left just like that. Similarly for hearing impaired, and I said mild to moderate hearing impaired. Many of these colleges today have got screens, multiple screens in their classrooms. The high-end colleges for sure. I don't know what government colleges if they have. Simple, free applications like Google Transcribe. Google Transcribe, which is there on your phone. Absolutely free. Just take a smartphone, put it in front of the faculty, let the faculty speak, The phone is being projected on a screen. Whatever is the language in which the faculty is speaking is being projected on the screen. No excuses. You can even control the font in that. You can enlarge or decrease the size of the font. You can even highlight it as it is being spoken. The word is being highlighted, which word is there. Everything is there. We have to evolve. We cannot say, okay, we will stick with same old routines, same old things as we used to do 10, 15, 100 years back. No, we can't do that. Because ultimately, these students need to become employable. Nobody is going to give them preferential status outside your colleges. That is the point which I differ from the morning's discussion. We need to prepare them for the outside world. We cannot create a spatial world for them. Mobility. We were talking about, I'm sorry, I'm differing a little bit from my subject, but these are important connections. We were talking about buddies. Important. I know in a new environment like this, I walked in today, I need support. Anybody needs support. But for how long is the question? Should I be accompanied day in and day out by someone? No. I have to use my cane. I have to be independent in my mobility. I have to learn how to commute alone. Who's going to take me to my job? Everything has to be tagged to employment. Everything has to be tagged to my future. We cannot create systems where I'm pampering my student for 10, 15, 20 years and then throwing him out into the open world and say, now you go and succeed, where there is no tactile marking on the road. Fine. Do you find any tactile marking outside this campus? No. You have to learn to walk. Right? See, somebody might disagree with me. I'm open to that. But I am a very practical, simple thinker. This is India. This is not US. This is not a developed country. Let's talk about things that can be done here. If you can start thinking practically, no emotions attached, probably we'll get some solutions. I'm open to questions, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.